Hi there. Welcome to another Client Insights and Experience Share with Jumpfactor. And today we have a special guest, Gary Arnold, Director of Marketing with Executech. And he's here to share some of his experience in working with Jumpfactor over the last 2.5 years, as well as some of his insights in leading the marketing at a fast growing managed service provider. And in this case, a fairly sizable one that's also been active in acquisitions. So he's going to have some unique insights that I'm excited to have Gary here to share with you. But first, a little bit of a background just to share some context. So Executech is an established MSP in the US. They have been around since 1999 and roughly 24 years. The company is approximately 300 people strong, and they have 8 physical locations, but with nationwide coverage. They have won countless awards, I think over 40 awards in the last 10 years, including the MSP 501, being on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies, as well as the channel MSP 500 and many, many others. Gary has been with Executech for over 6 years, and he has helped to position the firm as a thought leader. He's overseen the entire rebranding of the organization, as well as helped put in place a consistent lead engine that has helped them drive new business at a very effective cost per lead. Welcome, Gary. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Zamir. Great intro. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'll hand it over to you a bit just to kind of share maybe from your perspective for the audience's benefit, what does Executech focus on in terms of their offering, and maybe what you've been overseeing in your sort of responsibility in your capacity there.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Executech's been around nearly 24 years now. And, as many MSPs, we've evolved our offering to meet the market. But at the end of the day, we're doing IT for small to medium-sized businesses. We're mostly focused in the West, in the Western United States. As you mentioned, we have 8 locations with broad coverage amongst those locations.
Awesome. That's some great context. And so if we kind of look back, it was about 2.5 years ago that Executech partnered with Jumpfactor. And perhaps you can share a little bit about what was the focus in terms of lead generation and growth prior to that, and what led you to reach out and partner with Jumpfactor about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I was when I started at Executech, 6.5 years ago, as long as that was, marketing was pretty in its infant stages at Executech. There have been a lot of various types of marketing still done and brand built, but there was a lot that needed to be built up. And if I had to put it away, and I think a lot of business owners can relate to this, is that it was a little bit of a shotgun approach. We were firing a lot of different things at the same time, but we were honing in on the digital approach. We had frankly been through several different digital SEO agencies prior to selecting and getting with Jumpfactor. So I've been around the block when it comes to working with agencies. But one of the catalysts for us was we had gone through a pandemic. It was end of 2020, and we recognized that digital was stronger than ever for us in terms of our lead generation specifically. While we, of course, saw our traditional sales efforts, events and associations, of course, completely die off, SEO as a channel remained strong for us. And we had an okay presence at the time, but we realized there was a lot of untapped potential in just the one location that we were looking at. But as we were looking at additional locations, we knew that we needed to really hone in and we needed to make the most out of that channel. And we needed a partner that could keep speed with us, that could really bring those results. Again, we worked with some agencies in the past, no negative experiences per se, but none of them were really, and we'll of course get more into this, but we're really at the sophisticated and revenue-driven approach that we found Jumpfactor to bring to the table.
Excellent. Well, appreciate that answer there. And so in terms of the outcome. So if we kind of look at the program, of course, we embarked on an inbound marketing approach, which is a combination of SEO, content marketing, some level of automation and leveraging offers to convert prospects at different stages of the funnel. And I understand, if I'm kind of just looking at my notes here from some of the team, that we also did a complete website overhaul. So the combination of the two had resulted in a pretty significant impact. And I'll share a little bit about some of the KPIs, and then would love to get some of your thoughts, Gary. What I see here is we went from some inconsistent and sporadic lead flow to, over the 2 years, a height of 38 SQLs per month, with an average in the recent 6 months of about 30 plus leads per month. And these would be what we consider scrubbed leads. So we filter out all the junk, and obviously it's really just those that are actual inquiries from legitimate businesses looking for IT support or managed services. And the traffic has gone from approximately 1,500 visits a month of buyer quality traffic to over 15,000, which is a 10x increase. And similarly, the number of keywords that are ranking on page one has gone from 200 up to 2,100. So another 10x increase, which is a pretty explosive growth and in KPIs as well as leads. But perhaps, Gary, you can share in terms of your experience what the impact was of this increase across the board for you, marketing team, sales team, and so on.
Yeah, as I mentioned, one of the catalysts for us to reach out to Jumpfactor in the first place was this change, this shift in, well, what if the sales team can't do their traditional tactics of outbound or networking or what have you? If we need to rely more heavily on digital, we need to be good at digital. And so we did through Jumpfactor. We've become quite good at digital, as you say, inbound and our SEO program in general. And to date now, SEO is now our most consistent source of leads, of quality leads, as you say. And I think that's an important distinction. Is there are lots of different definitions of what someone might say a lead is, but we're talking about people raising their hand, ready for an appointment of some kind, right? And so that level of the quantity and again the quality of leads has only increased. Um, so I guess taking it more back to your question of the impact on the team, our sales team now can reliably rely on a stream of leads. Now it's not 100% consistent. There is ebb and flow in the market. We're at the mercy of Google sometimes, and that just is what it is. But generally speaking, we're able to set fairly accurate benchmarks and forecasts based on the SEO inbound channel alone, and it is now attributing to over half, at least, depending on the month or quarter, of our net new revenue, which is fantastic.
That's wonderful, and we've been thrilled to be, able to help drive that. And of course, with the collaboration from your team, it's been very smooth and exciting sort of growth. So one of the things that it's led to in terms of an outcome that obviously we've been happy to participate in is that there was an initial focus on two cities. And of course, you guys service many different cities across the country and more as you acquire different firms. In the time to date with the engagement, not only had we increased the scope of the engagement to include a website overhaul, but also the program or the marketing retainer itself was expanded to increase to up to 6 cities. And so that's one. The other is I know that the firm Executech is owned by a private equity group, and there were introductions made to the private equity group management level, as well as several of the portfolio companies, which have now become Jumpfactor clients, and they are starting to see similar success. So again, thank you for that. We really appreciate that support, and we're excited, as is the private equity firm, to be able to leverage our expertise in that area. One of the areas that, of course, a lot of MSPs, and I'm sure the viewers here that are looking, is, okay, well, what is the impact of this from a financial perspective or an ROI perspective? That's always one of the bottom line factors that comes into play when determining to make this kind of investment. And so I know, as far as increase, we went through to the different cities that we were covering, and the end result to date has been 10.1 million in new revenue across a lifetime value estimate of 5 years, based on about 170,000 of new MRR, which continues to grow. And perhaps you can share a little bit about, how does this compare to the different channels of marketing that you have, offline, direct, outbound, cold sales, and so on, from a ROI perspective, as well as perhaps a cost per lead perspective?
Yeah, as I mentioned and alluded to earlier, when comparing and breaking out all of the marketing channels that we like or that we participate in or active in, SEO by far has become the clearest and easiest story of, we have put an investment in and we are getting money out. Um, and that's, again, that's month over month, that's quarter over quarter, and that's been year over year, which is fantastic. And again, there are ebbs and flows, but it's been nice that it's been, as consistent growth, and also the quantity of just the overall leads and revenue that has come in. And as you mentioned, and just one general plug, I would say, again, kind of going back to that, why we picked Jumpfactor during that evaluation phase, the fact that I could have these kind of conversations, the conversation that we're having right now about hard numbers, about ROI, about quantity of leads and true metrics like that, was unfortunately refreshing. You would hope that in an industry of marketing, that other agencies would be just as on the same level of that kind of conversation. But I found that that's not to be the case. It is more rare than not. And to really bring it to the point, Jump Factor was really the only agency of the many that we evaluated at that time, and the other agencies we have evaluated over the years through our private equity partners and sister companies, that was really, really willing to talk about the bottom line, talk about how many leads do you need to get to achieve your goals. Okay, backing into, here's what the cost of the leads are going to be, and here's what the investment is going to look like. Most other agencies keep it at a very high level. They talk about fluff. They talk about great metrics, and there's no shortage of metrics, especially in the SEO world. And Jump Factor has those. But one of the big things for me that set them apart was, let's talk about your revenue goals and how we can contribute to getting you there. And it was so refreshing, and it's been that way ever since. And again, just reiterating, SEO now represents a large proportion of our net new revenue, quarter over quarter.
Great. Well, thanks, Gary. I think that's a great insight there because one of the things that often MSP owners will be considering is the initial face value of the program from different vendors. Is okay. This is what these guys are charging. Maybe it's $2,000-$3,000, and then there's other firms. And of course, as you mentioned, Jump Factor, we're not the cheapest firm from this, but we do bring to the table a significant level of sophistication and expertise. And so the interesting thing is the end outcome in terms of volume of leads will typically result in a lower cost per lead. I always share this with people that are evaluating services. Would you rather pay 3,000 or 3,500 a month and maybe get one lead, or would you rather pay 6 or 10,000 a month and be getting 8, 10, 15 leads a month? Your cost per lead is going to be far better, and not only that, the quality of lead is going to be significantly higher in terms of the added sort of focuses that we have. So going back to the number that we referenced for Executech, 10.1 million over a couple of years. The end result has been that the MCAC, which is the marketing cost to acquire that client per client, or that revenue, is actually below 5%. Now, in the industry, typically companies will look at, in B2B especially, whatever revenue you're bringing in. If you can generate that revenue from a marketing standpoint for 20% or less, that's considered good. But if you're at 5% or less, that's extremely, extremely good. And so that's one of the things that we're really proud of in terms of what we've been able to help Executech to achieve. And it's enabling them to continue scaling. Hence why the program has gone up significantly in terms of scope and, of course, resource cost to Executech. But the flip side is you're getting more leads and more ROI. And so that's the key is something that you can get working and then step on the gas with, so that you can keep accelerating. So one of the other things that's important, I think, of course, is obviously it's great to have a partner that's delivering the end result, but I think that comes with some level of interaction that's required between the two teams and the contact at the agency as well as in-house. So it would be great to learn a little bit from your side, Gary, on what your experience has been with the team in terms of project management, responsiveness, expertise, and knowledge of the different team members. I think that would be helpful for the audience to understand a little bit.
Yeah. And I love sharing the story. I share it all the time, even in non-Executech contexts, that in addition to, as I mentioned, one of the reasons we were impressed initially when evaluating Jumpfactor, of course, was their willingness and their focus on revenue and lead generation and those things. But the other one, once we kicked off, I was blown away at our onboarding process. Never have I been through a process so thorough, so organized, so clean, so well explained, and well communicated. And now that's not to say I didn't have my share of homework as the the user or the client to help you get going and help Jumpfactor be successful in their roles and in their what they were focused on. But it was eye opening, and I reference it all the time. I say it should be a benchmark standard for onboarding a new client in any services industry. Jump Factor has figured that part out. So, but onboarding's great. You get past the honeymoon pit phase, and then what is there? And frankly, and fortunately, the folks that I have worked with at Jump Factor, all of them, in all the interactions I've had, have been extremely positive. They are all very professional and very knowledgeable. And that's been one of the comforting things. I've been in marketing for almost 15 years now, and I know marketing stuff, but it's nice that I can also have a thought partner and an expert, in my corner to bounce ideas off of, to get confirmation of a direction, and to bring new ideas to the table for us. And that's another thing that Jump Factor is highly innovative. A lot of agencies will create their program, create their process, and just go with it and never re-examine it again for years and years. But Jump Factor has been actively reevaluating, adapting their strategy quarter over quarter, as our Google overlords or want to change things. Jump Factor's right there to pivot with them. And Zamir, I apologize if I'm jumping ahead, but and I just want to tease the way that you guys have started approaching and thinking about AI, it's in general, to me has been very impressive. I don't see any other agency in our space, in your space, looking at it and taking it that seriously and fundamentally adapting to it to, again, our benefit, to your client's benefit.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And you mentioned something about AI, and I think it goes to sort of speak about one of our core values is not only being strategic and tenacious on behalf of our clients to make sure we're pushing forward, but also to be passionate. And our team consists of very passionate marketers that are constantly striving to do the right thing. And the part of that involves staying ahead and staying ahead of the curve. And as you mentioned with AI, we've introduced a AI sales chat for MSPs that's rolling out right now. We have several new technology pieces that are allowing us to accelerate not only the velocity of the marketing work that we can do, but also ensuring that we're staying in line with Google's new generative search that is coming out, because that's, again, going to throw another curveball for a lot of marketers. And if you're not staying ahead of the adjustments required, unfortunately, the traffic and leads that you may have had in the past may not sustain themselves. And so not only are we looking to make sure we sustain, but also escalate and accelerate where some of the companies will sort of fall behind. There's an opportunity now for a lot of our MSP clients to gain added ground on their competition. So that's an exciting opportunity that we're leveraging heavily. And this has been some great insight. One of the things that obviously you went through the process of was vetting many different agencies, as you mentioned. And you also had the benefit of oversight in terms of what many of the portfolio companies have seen in terms of results from their engagement with industry, different agencies. And so what would be helpful, I think, is if you could share a little bit of insight, perhaps from your experience of recommendation for another MSP owner or head of marketing in terms of what do you think they should be looking for when trying to select a vendor to help them with their growth, and any other recommendations that you have from your experience, in terms of Jumpfactor or whatever partner they choose.
Yeah, this goes back a little bit to some comments we've made, but I'll just sort of illustrate again with the situation. I was put in a position to not only oversee Executech's marketing, but also be a partner and thought leader for our portfolio companies. These other MSPs that maybe don't have a full time marketer yet, or they're just getting a marketer up to speed. And so I've talked with a lot of other MSPs, and uh, almost all of them, I recommend SEO, and so that in general is an anecdote I would say to business owners is examine your marketing channels, examine where your end audience is at, and how they are finding your specific service or product, and again, it's service in this case, and SEO is likely going to be top on the list in terms of ways that you can capture the demand of those leads, the demand of those people. But in talking with these other MSPs in our portfolio company, it's like, hey, you need to do SEO. Jumpfactor's the premium. We can try this other path and examine and look for an alternative, cheaper, agency partner. And I've done that many times now. I've gone down that path, helping another business owner, another MSP owner, and select and find and vet these agencies. And frankly, I think as of today, none of them have worked out. And that's not a knock per se on agencies in general and the agencies out there that are very professional and smart people. But Jump Factor does have a special sauce. They have dialed it in, and it's worth the cost to get that sauce.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Gary. That's some really good insight. We talk a lot about inbound marketing, SEO, content, and so on. And as we go forward in the marketing environment, I think more and more is becoming important to have a multi-channel approach. And so one of the things that we have enhanced for a lot of our MSPs going forward is now that all programs will include some level of audio and video production to ensure multi-channel visibility in not only search but also usable in social media and so on. And we're also combining in now a very successful outbound program. And one of the things I'd sort of say as a note to that is that outbound is very effective only if you have extremely strong inbound. If you've got high quality traffic coming into the site, you can layer on a very strategic outbound, leveraging different types of visitor identification tracking tools and so on to reach out to those prospects who came to your site but maybe didn't necessarily fill out a form. So it's very different than a purely cold outbound approach. It's a much more strategic and targeted. And so, if you're watching this and you're interested to see how you can leverage these kind of tactics and really scale your MSP aggressively, feel free to reach out. We are happy to provide a complimentary strategy session with one of our MSP growth strategists and give you an idea of what the opportunity is, what sort of traffic and lead flow your competitors are getting, and give you a very transparent view on what resource will be required to achieve the success you're looking for. And if it's a good fit, then we can definitely help you. If not, we'll be very clear and sort of say, here's some of the other options that you can look at. But Gary, want to thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure connecting. I really appreciate some of the insights you've shared from your perspective with Jumpfactor, as well as your own experience as as an established MSP marketer. So thanks again for your time. Really appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you, Zamir. Great conversation. Appreciate it.
Cheers.